Jungkook almost chose the same path as Taehyung, but that surprising decision shifted in the final moments. A personal warning, subtly yet meaningfully delivered by Taehyung, was reportedly the turning point in Jungkook's creative direction for his next solo project. So, why did Taehyung issue the warning, and what exactly was he trying to convey? This news emerged alongside signs that Jungkook is preparing for a new phase in his solo career, following the release of the album Golden. Although there has been no official confirmation regarding the date or concept of his next album, fans have begun to suspect that Jungkook was once inspired by the personal and experimental tone of Taehyung's solo work. However, behind the scenes, a deeper dynamic seems to be unfolding, where Taehyung himself actually advised Jungkook not to follow the same path. According to sources familiar with their personal interactions, Taehyung told Jungkook that the world is waiting for something only he can bring. Not a second version of Layover, not a shadow of Taehyung's R&B-laced, introspective atmosphere, but rather a voice and direction that truly reflect Jungkook as an independent entity. This warning was not simply a rejection, but a very specific form of support. Taehyung understands the pressure behind creating a solo work, the fans' expectations, the shadow of group success, and the need to build a strong musical identity. He reminded Jungkook that taking the same route would only reduce his own artistic potential. This statement was said to have occurred in a private moment, not to create distance, but to strengthen mutual trust. Interestingly, the public initially did not realize that Jungkook's album was nearly set to follow a similar concept. Some observations pointed out that early leaked or intentionally teased song sketches showed minimalist and jazzy tones reminiscent of Taehyung's style. But after that warning, Jungkook's creative direction drastically changed. He began appearing more engaged in the studio with producers who often work in global pop and progressive EDM genres. Many have noted that this shift indicates Jungkook's return to the international arena, not just to maintain relevance, but to dominate. In other words, Taehyung's warning wasn't a restriction, it was a push to go even higher. The question now is, will Jungkook's decision not to mimic Taehyung's style create a greater impact on the industry map? Many fans welcomed the move enthusiastically, seeing it as a moment of self-assertion. That even though they come from the same group, each member deserves to stand on their own stage and within their own musical spectrum. Jungkook, as the Golden Magne, is now predicted to be crafting a second solo project that's more ambitious and expansive than Golden. Taehyung himself has not shown any rejection of this change. In fact, he has occasionally liked posts and given signs that he fully supports Jungkook's solo journey, as long as it comes genuinely from his own thoughts and feelings. There is no rivalry between them, only the hope that each work carries honesty and the courage not to hide behind anyone's style, even a fellow group members. In a competitive industry like K-pop, it's very easy to follow a formula that's already proven. But the steps Jungkook has taken, and Taehyung's warning, show that they are not playing it safe. They're building a legacy. And in that process, honesty becomes a more important foundation than similarity. Now, public attention is focused on one question. If Jungkook doesn't follow Taehyung's style, then what kind of masterpiece is he building? Many speculate that his involvement with international names like DJ Snake is no mere coincidence. Rather, it could be a signal that Jungkook will bring a new, more global and rhythmic color, marking the second chapter of his solo career with a sound that can no longer be compared to anyone else. With all the pressure and expectations surrounding him, the decision not to follow might be the hardest Jungkook has ever made. But this is the moment where he chooses not to be a shadow, but to be the light itself. However, what should be questioned now is not just the substance of the warning, but the existence of the information itself. Did Taehyung truly direct Jungkook away from the path he once took? Or is this narrative merely a chain of assumptions and selectively arranged data forming a certain conclusion? In a world flooded by 15-second TikTok clips, ambiguous tweets that can be interpreted in 1,000 ways, and speculative YouTube videos with sensational titles, the line between fact and interpretation becomes increasingly blurred. Statements like "Taehyung warned Jungkook" may sound authoritative, but how much of it can be proven? Are we witnessing genuine BTS member interactions, or merely seeing public hopes and assumptions polished by algorithms? Some visual snippets do show gestures from Taehyung to Jungkook backstage or during live streams, where he appears to speak seriously or gives gestures interpreted as guidance. But are we certain those contexts relate to the solo project? And further, do we fully understand the intention behind those gestures? Isn't it too easy for digital audiences to insert meaning into gaps that are actually still empty? It must be remembered that this article is based on scattered data across platforms: TikTok, Twitter, YouTube Shorts, and international reaction videos. These sources can give impressions, but they're not always conclusive foundations. Therefore, we must ask, is everything we believe to be true actually whole facts, or just narrative constructs crafted by media and fanbase analysts to generate more appeal? If Taehyung really did warn Jungkook, then why has this never been addressed in official forums? Is it because it's truly a personal matter not meant for the public, or simply because it never happened? Could it be that the interaction we witnessed was just part of their normal group dynamic, without the symbolic weight we've attached to it? It's important that we don't fall into the trap of a singular narrative. The fact that articles like this can go viral, be liked, even believed without further verification, is a signal that the public today tends to accept information without adequate critical processing. We must ask, does this narrative reflect reality or merely create sensation? And if the sensation in question is based solely on emotion and speculation, then this is the moment we need to pause and reflect. Why do we want to believe that Taehyung gave a warning? Is it because we want to validate our own opinion that Jungkook should take his own path? Or because narratives of conflict or divergence are more compelling than calm, flat reality? Of course, we can't deny that many fans hope Jungkook finds his own path and does not live in anyone's shadow, including his fellow group members. But that desire must still be separated from actual fact. If we're not careful, we end up contributing to the spread of blurry information, not based on solid journalistic investigation, but on fragments of unverified guesses. As informed audiences, it's time we stop being passive consumers of information. We must begin asking, who's constructing this narrative? In whose interest is this story spreading? And what if this information, which feels so emotional and logical at once, is merely part of an opinion architecture shaped by algorithms for public attention? In this context, we invite you, the readers, not just to observe, but to examine. Don't immediately believe articles, videos, or even clips that have been edited in certain ways. Look deeper. Ask the uncomfortable questions. Where's the proof? Who's the source? Could this have been crafted for a certain agenda? Because in today's world, where the line between news and speculation is increasingly thin, the ability to think reflectively is not just a choice, it's a necessity. If not, we may all end up trapped in stories that feel true, but are nothing more than digital constructs exploiting our curiosity. So before you spread, justify, or even believe that Taehyung truly warned Jungkook about his solo career, ask yourself, is this the truth we know, or just the truth we want to believe?